All of us are on a journey. As Neil Gaiman would say, we all get a lifetime. The length and breadth isn't so important. It's more the awareness and appreciation of the current moment and the ones we hold dear that seems to matter most. Life is a treasure, a gift, not to be wasted. The people, the places, and the experience of this lifetime defines a large part of who we become. This is the story of one such journey, taken with a dear friend and his sweet dog, some 2,000 plus miles, from Paonia, Colorado, to Cochiti Lake, New Mexico, to Wimberley, Texas, and back again. It's a story of landscape, laughter, good company, and memories to treasure for a lifetime. My name is Joe Allen. Welcome to my very first travelogue. Well, we're on our way. Leaving Paonia. Maggie's not happy about it. She's not a road tripper, but there she is. That's right. Currently bound for Sante Fe, at least type of way. By way of Cochiti Lake.
Mexico is our first destination on this little road trip. The land of enchantment.
Yeah. That way. Our journey begins leaving Paonia, a place that I am blessed enough to call home in rural western Colorado. As we make our way here, we'll come upon a notable landmark, the Black Canyon of the Gunnison River, a place that it is as vast as it is ancient, and it will take your breath away. From the right vantage point, you can see eons carved into the sides of the canyon walls. And you wonder, who used to sit there and look down on that, thinking the same thing, the ancient peoples looking on an even more ancient place. Now, onward and upward to New Mexico and into the night. Good morning. Welcome to the land of enchantment. Here we are in Cochiti Lake, New Mexico, located roughly 30 miles west of Sante Fe on the Cochiti Pueblo. So this is reservation or tribal lands that open themselves up to development on the basis of a 100-year lease, which is less than 50 years in, I think. And this is where Charlie's dear friend Susan lives. She graciously put us up on the first leg of our journey, and waking up here in the morning was amazing. There's a mesa just a short walk away from Susan's house where you can look in all directions and see something beautiful in literally every direction. It's a stunning place, like much of New Mexico, really. But its proximity to Sante Fe makes it a pretty ideal location for people to live. So our first stop is the Jemez Pueblo, located at the base of the Jemez Mountains. You can see the red earth here is just beautiful. So we had the honor of attending a traditional Medicini dance, and here I am talking about that. So we were just at this really cool feast day traditional dances at the Jemez Pueblo. Really cool. You weren't allowed to film it or anything, of course, but there's just almost all indigenous people and just these elaborate regalia. Wow, such a storyteller. Okay, in other words, this Medicini dance, it was a gathering of indigenous people at this pueblo. It's a feast day celebration. There were hundreds of folks there, and about 10 Westerners, white people, which So it was just an honor that we were allowed to be there. And of course, we weren't allowed to film because it's like a sacred gathering. So there were many dancers and elders, and the dancers themselves were wearing these beautiful handmade traditional costumes or regalia. And it seemed to me most of the dances focused around like celebration of life and a new generation or coming of age, because there was often centered around a young boy or a young girl. And there were these other really cool, colorful dancers dressed as bulls that would be like antagonizing folks and like chasing the young kids around. So it was really cool. Traditional music was playing. There was a large body guitar and a fiddle and percussion. And a lot of the dancers had bells and shakers attached to their clothing. So yeah, it was really neat. Really glad to have been that and have a little taste of the local culture. Here in New Mexico, it's kind of a unique thing, I think, amongst U.S. states because, you know, we have this history of genocide and, you know, relocation of indigenous people. But here in New Mexico, there's more, a lot of them got to stay, I think, because of the way things worked out. And I say that so matter-of-factly, but it is important to remember the history of colonization in the West being a history of genocide and relocation and possession without compensation for the indigenous peoples. This is something that I think as modern Americans we should think about and talk about because we live here now, and those that came before, in a large part, I think, are forgotten often. But luckily here in New Mexico there are tribes that still have extant traditions and culture. So anyways, here we are in the Jemez Mountains. You can see fire devastation throughout New Mexico, and the Jemez Mountains are another place where that is the case. But coming up on the Valles Caldera, we're going to see our first amazing view. Caldera is a dormant volcano, and this meadow that we're coming upon is a high mountain meadow. It was freezing cold when we got there, and it's just extraordinary. I'll use the word again, vast, because it was just a view that your eyes, I have really good vision, 20/20, I can see long distances, which I love. I'm really blessed to have that. But it was this meadow was just so vast that I was having a hard time taking in the scope of it, and this video isn't really going to show you, but here we go.
There's a beautiful lodge back here left over from the old days.
This used to be Charlie's office. All right, so Uncle Charlie here is a retired forest ranger and firefighter. So he knows this area really well. He spent a lot of time in New Mexico, Utah, and Arizona. I could make a whole video about Charlie, but that's for another time. Right now, anyway, we find ourselves in the Valles Caldera, which is a dormant volcano. These views go without saying, so I'll stop talking for a moment so you can just enjoy.
Redefine my forever. Music reminding me that we're better together. You keep on bringing me back. Redefine my forever. Music reminding me that we're better together. You keep on bringing me back. Redefine my forever.
Okay, I'm pointing here. Off in the distance, I could see these specks. I knew they were animals, but I couldn't see it with my naked eye. they turned out to be hundreds of elk, so multiple herds that were bedded down in the field here, this vast mountain meadow. So I took a panoramic image to kind of give you an idea of just how big it was, but it just gave me this feeling. It's hard to describe, but it was the biggest place I'd been in a while, and it made me feel so small and just so blessed. And it was freezing out there, you guys. Like, we were out there for just a minute, and Charlie and Susan here went back in the car because we didn't have the gear for it, and I froze my butt off, but got to look through those binoculars. And there was another man there in a Land Rover with a 50x spotting scope. He let me look through them and confirmed they were indeed elk. Got to actually see their antlers on a few of the bulls. It was awesome.
These are all big giant forest fires that have happened over the years.
Yeah, big burns, Cerro Gordo. And
That's right.
There was, what was that one?
Cerro
when I
Grande.
Cerro Grande.
Oso.
Cerro Gordo's a street.
Nice.
Cerro Grande fire. And then before
see all
that
this
was
fire
that
in those?
big one when I first
Look at
moved
that.
here in 1977. There had been a big fire over here.
Lots of fires.
Everybody
Bigger than that,
came into
Susan?
bandolier.
Believe it or not, I was on that fire in
What was it?
1977.
What was
Wow.
it called?
I can't remember what the name of it was, but I can tell you I was on that fire.
It was over here in Bandolier.
Yeah, it was in Bandolier.
For whatever reason, I forgot to get footage of it, but after we left the caldera, we went down the mountain and into Los Alamos, which is where we developed the atomic bomb triggers and the atomic bomb for World War II that were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. It was like a really sharp contrast, from like this beautiful natural place, and then here we are where, we developed these weapons of mass destruction. It was just kind of intense. But this footage now is from a day trip from Cochiti Lake to Sante Fe, and we got to stop in Charlie's old stomping grounds where he used to live, a place called La Cienega. Charlie's old stomping grounds, La Cienega. Movement. To go from place to place, to see things from a new perspective. This is a must for life. I feel like it's easy to get caught up in day-to-day living, especially when you're just, trying your best to survive and hopefully thrive. We work, and we eat, and we pay the rent, whatever it is, and I feel like that's not enough. It's a blessing just to be able to drive, a few miles away from where you are, to take the time for yourself to see something new. And that's what this trip was all about. It's on my mind.
Susan did have horses. Susan was the queen mom of the Sante Fe rodeo. Your daughter was the queen of the Sante Fe rodeo.
And Charlie got the Queen's horse.
I did. I was in charge of the
All right, we're making our way towards Sante Fe. If you've ever been to Sante Fe, one of the first things you notice is all of the adobe or faux adobe buildings. It's a beautiful city, if not slightly homogeneous due to this one fact. It's a city notable, of course, for not only being the state capital, but also having a thriving art culture with many amazing galleries, of which I didn't get to film because you get into kind of tricky territory there. I don't want to photograph these original pieces of art. And on this trip, we got to see a lot of great contemporary art in particular.
That's a basilica, and in Catholic churches, there's that's a more important church because it's called a basilica.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes. So,
it was built by Bishop Lamy,
yeah, Bishop Lamy was
and he didn't want a dirt church. He was French. He was the bishop here, and every other church is adobe here. Everywhere is from just their adobe.
all the other churches are.
But he was French, and he's very famous. He was a bishop here for a long time. Bishop Lamy, there's a town named after him,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And he wanted a stone church, and this looks just like a church you'd see in France. And so he made these people from a French church. There's the plaza. The plaza.
What the heck is this? Reindeer thing here on the back.
Got the stuffed reindeer there.
Must be somebody. It must be a
And we'll go.
parade or something.
I don't know. Maybe the road's not even open to go over there. Because last time they closed roads. But there's the plaza.
So go around.
This manolith here is really a cool thing. It has an inscription on it about some battle that commemorates.
I don't even use the obelisk. I don't know if I've ever. I am
Huh?
sure I have, but I don't remember.
Here, of course, is the basilica that Charlie is talking about. We didn't get to go inside, but the architecture is just stunning from the outside. It was fun to keep an eye out for the actual adobe buildings, of which some of them are hundreds of years old. Sante Fe really is a beautiful city. It has a feeling, because there's no skyscrapers and development has been kind of restricted, it feels like a small city, even though it's the capital. Pretty neat. There's our girl Maggie. Of course, no travelogue is complete without the dogs of the travels. This is a beautiful walk that we took in the evening, a lovely sunset in Cochiti Lake. Great memory. The sunrises and sunsets in New Mexico are especially beautiful, and I found myself just kind of overwhelmed with awe for the beauty of this place and just a sense of gratitude. Look at this. I mean, to witness this, to be alive for this. I know that this life is a gift and it has its ups and downs, but overall, this experience, this present moment, how beautiful is it, my friends? That's a bald eagle over there. Okay, this area right here is well known for being a home to Georgia O'Keeffe, one of the most important artists in American history, and definitely most notable woman of New Mexico. You can see how these landscapes inspired her wonderful paintings. It's a truly inspirational place. Hello everybody. Look at this. It's amazing. Places like these, not unlike the Black Canyon of the Gunnison, that are just so old, impossibly old, formed by eons of change. It makes me think about time and what it means to be alive. Memory and all of that. This human experience where we are seemingly a collection of moments and characters and taste and smell and sound. And I'm reminded of how rich I am and how lucky I've been, how blessed I am to have these experiences and to share them with you. It's a pretty amazing journey, ain't it? I mean, it really is. Just look at the world around you. Look at the beautiful people that love you. It's awesome. All right, everybody, we're heading out from Cochiti Lake, New Mexico. Uncle Charlie, Joellen, and thanks, Susan. Susan, the hostess with the mostest. We're on our way. Charlie, where are we going today, though? We're headed through...
We're headed down to Mahoney Sandhills State Park, just outside of Fort Stockton, Texas.
We got about 400 miles to go to get there, is that right?
About 400. I didn't know you were
on our
going to tell me,
way.
so I laid my eyes.
No, that's
We got a
fine.
magazine coming here from Susan.
Got a little food on it.
Hey, Susan.
Maggie's
Filming
here
for
going,
the
"What
thing,
fuck?"
the little travel log. Got the
Oh, hi.
camera on. Susan just put us up for a few days and it was amazing. Cochiti Lake was beautiful. Gosh, thank you again. Yeah. Oh, it's fine.
Didn't you get that?
Cool.
Or that's Charlie's.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you on the way back. Maggie knew that we were about to leave and she hid in the bathroom, right, Charlie? She's not a fan of being in the car, but she's a trooper. So anyways, I'll see you guys all soon. Here we go.
Some gas here in the cheap gas before you go.
Well, everyone, we are wrapping up the first leg of our journey here. Next up, we will be going from New Mexico, crossing the border into Texas, and passing through the oil fields and the natural gas wells, which I tell you was an exciting experience at night with all the development there. But just to wrap up, New Mexico, if you get the chance to visit, just do it. It's a beautiful state and a place that I'd like to spend more time exploring in the future. Of course, I've been here before, but this was my first time really getting to know it better. And it helped to be visiting with someone like Uncle Charlie, who just has a lot of time invested getting to know the place and has lived here before. and to stay with someone like Susan, who just made us feel so welcome. Overall, New Mexico, you're gorgeous. Thank you so much. On our way out, we came across this old cemetery, and I just couldn't resist capturing a little footage of it. Really unique. It didn't have a name or anything, but it's another one of those little things that just, a little moment to treasure and remember all of this is temporary and we should celebrate it. Everyone, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot. I'd appreciate it if you like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode of this road trip where we will be heading to Wimberley, Texas. Love y'all.